Hey guys, my name is Terry and I'm a collectibles dealer. I'm a big fan of music, but I'm not an expert. That's why we've got Johnny D.
This is Vincent Montana Jr., and you're in the mix with my man, Johnny D. South Soul style.
All right, Johnny D, we're back, and this is a big episode. It's the Madonna episode.
Yeah,
What do you think
I've been
about that?
I've been waiting to dig into this, man. I've been a solid Madonna collector from day one, and as we have discussed off camera, that in all of these things that collectible, especially in music, I don't think there's anyone who is more collectible. I'm not saying she's the best, the great. I'm just talking about on the collectible side when you put her next to, the Michael, whoever you put her next to, she has people want her TV guides, her mentions in People magazine. People just collect Entertainment Week. It's insanity. There's no artist like Madonna when it comes to this. There are a lot of collectible people, but Madonna is another level. So I'm about to hit you hard.
Well, let's dive in. Start us off here.
I'm gonna start off with the absolute ridiculous. I don't really love the word grail, but let's say grail. This is the self-titled album, Madonna, test pressing, one made, handwritten, incredible piece. Obviously, this launched Madonna. Um, this was, from an executive at Warner Brothers given to a key DJ in New York at the time. And I wound up getting a lot of his collection. And that was the crazy part of that wasn't even in the white jacket it came in. It was in a regular album. So I happen to be going through the regular album cover and I see this test pressing, which
Wow.
gave me half a heart attack.
Oh, that's unbelievable. So the person who had it didn't even know what they had, or they didn't consider
No,
it
no, I
valuable.
think they knew, but yeah, the test pressing and acetate thing, it's really people are still,
They're trying to
getting
learn.
acclimated. People still
Yeah.
don't really understand what they are. I mean, it's the lunatics. People in the know.
Yeah.
This is a crazy one. This is an acetate of everybody, a 10-inch acetate from overseas with a different mix. And this was her first single, but I'm going to talk about that because that really wasn't supposed to be her first single. I'll get into that in a minute. Um, this is really cool. I have three of these. This is Like a Prayer. So this is her biggest record on the pop charts. Shep Pettibone produced. This is three different acetates from the session, and one of them has no fade version. One just says Shep mix, and one says with fade. So that's like straight from the production, ridiculously rare. I mean, the stuff I have on Madonna, people can categorize what they think the grail is because it's so deep. Um,
That Shep mix is pretty fantastic. I mean, I
all
know
three of them are the Shep, but yeah, but you'll see one will say Shep instrumental. It's just it's craziness. Lucky Star, beautiful 12-inch. Um, I think I've seen a 10-inch of this, but I never saw a 12-inch of this acetate, and that's a UK, which the UK to me, they're still sexy. I mean, I always love the American ones, but the UK stuff is sexy. Here's a 10-inch of True Blue, which is beautiful. That really is a real beautiful piece. Now here's Physical Attraction demo. Physical Attraction was supposed to be the first single and was then bumped. And Physical Attraction was produced by Reggie Lucas, who was coming off of the big success with Stephanie Mills and Phyllis Hyman, whereas Mark Kamen, who produced everybody, had never really produced records. So they were slated to go with this, but they switched to everybody. But this is a demo version anyway, which is crazy.
that's an incredible piece. That's an incredible piece to own.
That is beautiful. Now this is really like beautiful. Steve Rebell from Studio 54, we said his favorite record of all time is True Blue. This is the True Blue acetate, US acetate side one. And then I have two side twos that have there's like some kind of number on it. So for whatever reason, they repressed it, and this is future disc systems. Another thing about Madonna, more than any other person that I've collected test pressings and acetates over the years, is she's pressed with basically every pressing plant. I've never seen an artist like Michael Jackson, 90% of his stuff, it's all one spot. Everything prints, everything's in one place. Madonna is all over the place, which is kind of crazy because when you're looking for stuff and you look for matrix numbers, it's kind of you don't really understand. But I think that the reason why a lot of her stuff got a little crazy was she signed in New York to Sire Records. Then it's like you have West Coast people. Sire was a division of Warner Brothers. So let's just say they wanted to put a record out through the specialty system, which is the main system, and there's a clog there for whatever reason they can't release the date she wants. She'll have to go to a different pressing plan. And I think that's how she did a lot of bobbing and weaving with a lot of her stuff. Perfect example. This is a test pressing of the album True Blue on Allied. Now, Allied, you rarely see Warner Brothers test pressings on Allied. I have maybe I saw a Fleetwood Mac. There might have been a George Clinton years ago. You'll see Elektra stuff, which is part of the Weir family. So you could see that continuity. So Weir is Warner, Elektra, and Atlantic. Basically, Specialty was their pressing plant. But you'll see some Geffen, which was going through Warner Brothers on Allied. So this is the only Madonna I think I've ever seen on Allied, which is I would have if I was doing a search, I wouldn't in a million years do a search to say Allied. That would be the last place I would press. This is a True Blue 12-inch mix acetate, also on Future, which is beautiful. I mean, they have the catalog, the dates. These and they're all immaculate, by the way. My records are very clean. A lot of people talk about acetates. You can't play them. My records are immaculate. Here's an Open Your Heart UK acetate, one of my favorite records of Madonna. Beautiful 12-inch. Okay, so here's the showstopper, if we're gonna say there's a show. This is Physical Attraction. We're burning up on the flip. So this is the first record made for Madonna. So before the album, before everything, this was slated to be the first single, and they held it off. And this was given to me by the guy who brought Madonna to Seymour Stein at Sire. And I think that was his handwriting on the back, which was great. You know, Smithsonian, without a doubt. Now, this is a crazy piece. Like a Virgin, pressed at specialty.
Jeez.
But this is an HRM, which you'll never see a major label press at HRM. HRM was basically handling most of the independent labels. I don't know this for sure, but I believe this was pressed there because the first press of this album was done on white vinyl, and there was promo only on white vinyl. They made a lot of those. I probably have a box of them, but this particular one, I believe, is the reference for that, where they approved it on black vinyl and then went with it. That's just what I think. But it's just to have that. I mean, it's Madonna Warner label with the date 84 file copy. I mean, it's just, I mean, the jacket's probably was valuable. Now she's known as the Material Girl. So Material Girl 12-inch mix acetate. Now, the cool thing is this jacket, Frankfurt Wayne would do this a lot. They'd put like a bright blue jacket or a pink or a green. So this is the original jacket it came in. Frankfurt Wayne, one of my favorite mastering studios. I've used them for my own label and for, a lot of stuff. Legendary records there. This is a beautiful piece. Another iconic, she is the Material Girl, and that's the signature piece. Who's That Girl? Another US acetate. Now this is on master disc. I mean, it's fucking crazy. She's all over the place. So has the date and everything. That's just, you put this puzzle together. It's insane. If Madonna sees this video, she's gonna want all of these. We're gonna have to work out. This is a wow. This was something. A lot of them come to me, and I think they're all crazy, but some of them are extra crazy. This is the You Can Dance album, 2 discs, all the remixes, American Acetate, Sterling Sound. We were just a Frankfurt Win. She's like, oh, it's insane. There's no rhyme or reason. Beautiful, untouched acetate, 2 disc. Right, this could probably also, when we're doing the Smithsonian Wall of Madonna, let's just say we're doing the physical attraction, the self-titled. This is probably going to be the third one. This is the Like a Virgin US acetate. Um, the date master disc, June 84. Beautiful. Now Nile Rodgers was the big producer on, Like a Virgin, and a lot of these cuts dress you up and everything. This was on master disc, and I have other Nile things. I believe Duran Duran were on master disc. So a lot of the time the producer will steer it where it gets mastered. Not all the time. But every time I see that, I think of the Duran Duran. He did obviously produce Duran Duran. I believe there might have been a master disc of a David Bowie he also produced. So in my head, I think Nile did that. Maybe I'm wrong, but it kind of makes sense. This is a kind of a cool one. This is a Like a Prayer album they did in Europe, very, very limited, and they did these really cool sheets for this like station in Luxembourg, like really, really cool. You don't really see those. And I love how they did the Saya label. Saya rarely did. The only time you saw a Saya cool promo white label was in Canada. In America, they were a yellow label promo on it wasn't really sexy. But this is like a faded blue, really hot promo label. This is something whenever I have discussions with Terry off camera, I bring things like this up. So this is erotica test pressing. Now you can go online right now and get one for $300. This is the difference. This one is a handwritten label. The one you're going to find online is going to be typewritten. So it's more of a promo run of the test pressing label. But this is the real deal. I've never seen another one. I could say there's one, let's say there are three, but this is the handwritten one. So this is not the one you can right now go to eBay and pay $300 for. It's
Right.
not that. I have that one, but I think I have 5 of those. Who's That Girl album? This is a Greek test pressing of the album, which is nice. I like to get them from different countries. This is another one. This is Keep It Together, handwritten label, Madonna American. I've seen 3 of these, and I have 2. So I've seen 3. Very, very rare. Another one, Justify My Love, handwritten as well. Very, very hard. And the cool thing about this one is this has this sheet from the pressing plant. Now, I was in charge of vinyl at the Warner Music Group for 15 years, and I used to keep all my sheets. So every time a test pressing would come in, I would like keep all the sheets I did. And it tells you if there are pops or whatever. It's kind of whatever. I mean, nobody really pays attention to it. But this one will say few light pops, whatever, which is hysterical. So this is the quality control. It actually says test pressing quality control report from 1990 has the tester's name on it and stuff. So that alone is probably worth more than the record.
I
Just
kind
the
of
fact.
like the sheet. I feel like it's a great
I love the
way.
sheets. They don't
Yeah.
always come. You don't always have them. For some reason, they'll just give them to you. Another one, Vogue. I've seen this a couple of times with like the handwritten. You don't see that. And Vogue was obviously a monster record. I've never seen this. This is Express Yourself test pressing label. Never seen this. 12-inch American. Very, very hard. This is kind of an odd one. A black label, Like a Virgin, UK, with no label on it, which is kind of cool. The UK would do that a lot of the time with jukebox records and stuff like that. They would just not put the label on, kind of in the promo way. This is really cool. Justify My Love. It was in a clear test pressing. This was for the picture disc, but this is the clear thing before they put the picture on it.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool. All right, we're still getting through. This is really cool. So this is Holiday and Lucky Star, another one of those Euro ones with that label, which you don't see that label, that whitish blue. Who's That Girl? That's the 12-inch mix with the sheet, causing a commotion. Also 12-inch mix with the sheet. This is the Like a Virgin with the sheet, which is really, I mean, obviously that record was so big that it makes it even crazier. La Isla Bonita,
Nice.
the sheet, Hanky Panky, that was from the the soundtrack with what was the soundtrack? Was that not Batman with Warren Beatty? Was that Batman?
Dick Tracy?
Dick Tracy.
No.
See
Yeah.
that? See that? We work well together. Liv Cattell, one of my favorites, with the sheet. Here's the look of love with the Euro sheet. Um,
This is absolutely incredible. Just the, I mean, how many
yeah,
pieces
just
of
the
Madonna you
sheer
have?
yeah, no, it's nuts. Here's an open your heart with the sheet. They didn't do the label on that, they just left it white. This is cool. I love these Greek ones. I love a Greek test pressing album of Like a Virgin. This one. I also I have a Michael Jackson like this, which I love. This is a South African, and it's like and look what they did to the jacket, like green. I love that. They do like crazy. That's insane.
Well, I'm going to
Um,
bust your balls here for a second. I mean, what
yes.
was it? Was there a closet where you found all these out of?
Exactly. I was just somebody was just waiting for me. It was just where everybody just said, "Oh, you like Madonna? Go in that room over there. Just take everything you want." Um, this is a South African you can dance.
No,
Uh,
well, it's got to be apparent to people watching this. I mean, this is years and years of you doing hard work to pry each of these pieces away from the people who own them. I mean, there's no way that this fell into your lap. This is
and the crazier thing is, I don't think I've ever gotten two from the same. That's the
wow,
crazier part. So when
wow,
you look at all of it, not only is this ridiculous quantity, but I don't remember there being one person to say, "Oh, I have five of those." Whereas with Michael and Prince and stuff, I think there are at least times where I got a couple of pieces. This has all been, it's one at a
unbelievable,
time.
unbelievable.
It's crazy.
And how over what period of time would you say most of your Madonna collection was collected? Like how many years? The
Well, I
span?
started obviously, right away, I guess, which 83 when she came out. I would say I probably got really hardcore in the mid 90s because I kept collecting her and I still collect her, but I don't really love what she's doing. So I collect her because when you're this deep, how could you just stop? It's
Right.
crazy. So, I'm still going, and I try to keep like five copies of everything she does. So I have a whole other thing which we could do another episode of just sealed copies, and I have a picture disc collection that I believe I have every picture disc she's ever made,
Wow.
which is that's very nice, which we could talk about at some other point. So this is the Uruguay Like a Virgin album, another Greek You Can Dance. This is an acetate American of Nothing Really Matters with Peter Rohoff mixes. And I'll tell you a funny story why I kind of left that for the end. Um, this I love. A True Blue Japanese test with the press kit, which I think is so cool. The reason why I put that acetate at the end was the guy who did it, I wasn't a fan of, and I had like a little bit of an episode um with my record label, and um I just not a fan of the guy. And so I was just always like, to me, of all of the Madonna pieces, that's the one piece that, just because his name is on it, I don't really, but people love him. He's very big in the gay world. I can care less. This is kind of a weird one. I never saw this either. A Madonna self-titled German test pressing, which is crazy. Dress You Up is one of my favorite records of hers, especially live. And this has a sheet in it. And this was like another weird, really strange. It's got notes and stuff, but it's, I don't really, I think it's a UK test pressing. I have a Borderline as well, UK test, La Isla Bonita, UK, Into the Groove, and we end with a Causing a Commotion, UK tests. So
Absolutely incredible, man. I mean,
that's pretty much that is a pretty solid Madonna collection. And
that's fantastic.
yeah, I've been collecting for a long time. Obviously, I was a big fan of hers, and I felt that over the years, when she was, I mean, she was always very smart when it came to the club world because she came from the club. So she was always very hip about who the big remixes were and stuff. So she was always concerned about, having that for the moment success. And I, as a music fan, didn't love the direction she went in the last, from maybe 95 on. So as I said, I collected, but I wasn't really in love with a lot of those pieces. Where I think the early pieces, most of the majority of the world has more of an attachment to than, some remix that she did on Rebel Heart a couple of years ago.
My first reaction from seeing that incredible display is that the viewers aren't going to understand. I mean, you just flipping out, bringing one after another, and it doesn't really do it justice because there are so many of them. They don't understand that each one in its own right is an incredible piece. And the other thing that strikes me is that, I mean, we've said this, I think we're echoing something that we said before on other podcasts, but you could have all the money in the world and it would be impossible to replicate the collection that you just showed.
Right.
Those that they are unique pieces, or one of two, one of three, that are handwritten. So in some aspects, they're all one of ones. And no matter how much money you had, you could not create that collection unless you were willing to give up those pieces.
Yeah, and the thing is that becomes like that's like a mind game where you just think about it, and you say, like, as I was putting, a lot of pieces of my collection, I say, there were always people in the space that have the money. They're always around, no matter what you do. There's always that guy you could say, listen, I came across this. This is the money. And there's always that guy that has a checkbook that he can write as many zeros as he wants. But I think about that all the time. You could have all the money in the world. You cannot go and you could have 10 people working for you and say, I want you to scour the earth and come
That's
up
right.
with a list. Where are you going to get them? You'd have to come here. Like
Absolutely. And that's why I think it's hard for people who collect sports cards or coins or things where there are multiples of them and condition is the focus, to appreciate when something is really a unique thing like an acetate or a test press. It's different. In my mind, it's more akin to one-off concert posters that are made to be thrown away, that were not printed in high volume, and you may only see one in your lifetime because it's the only one that survived. And how do you find a comp on that? How do you value it? Because it's really the only one, and the only way you can get it is if the person who owns it is willing to sell it.
Well, that's what I say. It's the blessing and the curse. For years, as I've gone through the collection, and you speak to different people, and like I always say, I came from the baseball card. I come from that mentality, and I remember collecting cards my whole life, and it was just like when I came into a little bit more money, when I was successful, what did I do? Okay, I'm a Yankee fan. I got to get all these cards. Okay, I want to get every set that was since I've been alive. So I collect the sets. Oh, okay. Go to my friend who's a hockey guy. Who are the top five hockey guys? Got to get those rookies. Who are the top five football guys? I got to get, and I went after and would upgrade my cards. Oh, I just got a Walter Payton 7. I can get an 8. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the 7, get the 8. That's what you do. Can't do that with this. It's
Right.
just like,
Right. No, you're at the top.
day.
You're at the
You're at
top
the
of the.
top. And so,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I could only go down. And I welcome, I don't like to trade. I mean, I don't really like to sell or do any of it, but I definitely don't like to trade. And I'm always open to see people's things. And I gotta say, in all of my years of collecting, and I've been around a lot of record people worldwide. I mean, I know people all over the world, and I um I can honestly say I've never seen pieces like of this magnitude. I mean, just haven't. I've been around people who, oh wow, so and so's collect and nice collections. For what they do, they're great. I think I'm a very intense collector. So like within my collection, Like Madonna, Michael, and Prince were always in a separate room. That wasn't even part of. If I'm making a tape or I'm DJing, I don't even have Madonna records in the record. I have to actually go outside to get like a copy of Billie Jean because it's not even in the room. You say, so how could you not have Billie Jean in your room? And I did that with hip hop. I did it with rock 12 inches. Like I curated this and I kept it. You know, my albums are promo only albums, separate from my regular albums. You know, it's collections within the collection.
Right.
So
But
if you
that
come over to the house, it's like you're in a store.
but the stuff you just showed us seems like it's at the very tip of the iceberg. I mean, that is like as you said, there are Smithsonian pieces in there. That's the cream of the crop in terms of, and below that there are probably picture discs and promos and other things. But what people probably don't realize is you've just revealed the very top of the pyramid
Absolutely.
in terms of
Absolutely.
value. Another example that I could put forward that people may relate to is I have a client who has concert posters, and these are one-off boxing style concert posters, of which maybe one, maybe two, maybe three survived. And they were not made to be collected, they were made to advertise the shows. And one of the things I love about concert posters is, especially in the 30s through 50s, there was a utility in them in that black musicians and the white promoters who promoted them were not allowed on the radio to promote. And so concert posters were the only way you could get the word out for these shows. So there's this very interesting, fascinating, and important history behind concert posters. And, my client, who you could walk into his room if you're lucky enough, like yours, to walk into your museum and behold it, if you're lucky enough to get the invite and to go in and see it, 99% of people won't understand what they're looking at. They won't understand what it took to get those and how rare they are and how they will never see them again because he, like you, has so many of them that it's just like you're pulling one out after the other, and you kind of get immune to it as a viewer because you don't realize that each one of those is such a unique, awesome piece. I mean, when you're pulling out the Like a Virgin and and the self-titled album, and these pieces are insane, and no one else on the planet can pull out a list like that. And I think
I'm
some,
sorry to cut you off, but yeah, and what I wanted to say was, even if somebody were to say, "Oh, I have one," okay, yeah, but are you gonna do you have
right,
that?
right, right,
That's
right.
the other thing where you could say if there's a one-stop shopping effect of, when I go through the stuff and like I'll come across like a Pink Floyd acetate. Now, there could be a person that only has that one record and they can hold on to that for dear life and be like, this is gonna pay my mortgage off one day. Yes. Yes, that makes absolute sense. If somebody's going to pay 3.5 for an autographed guitar of Pink Floyd, that there are multiple guitars out there. I don't care if it was whatever. There are multiple other. This is the one Pink Floyd, the Wall 12 inch. Like when you look at that, that's when it gets a little bit. It's surreal to me. Believe me. And
Yeah,
I'm not bragging. I'm not trying to be an idiot. Like I literally, as a collector, when I'm looking at this stuff. Um, and I'm glad, I'm happy to appreciate it and really like just, try to realize that I achieved something. I mean, I started collecting records at an early age and to bob and weave and then find my own kind of path in an area that really there aren't there wasn't a lot of traffic in, and I was digging for these diamonds, in these mountains or wherever you dig for diamonds and stuff and in the earth. And I've been very fortunate to meet certain people and then people turning me on to other people. Hey, I heard you collect acetates. I told you, I got a call around Christmas 2 years ago, and I'm in the car and somebody sends me a text. Hey, my name is so and so. I heard you collect acetates. I'm like, what the hell? Like, who is this? I hit him back. I says, yeah, I'm Johnny. He goes, yeah, this person has this Shalimar thing. I think you'd like it. And I'm saying to him, the only acetate I really want is right in the socket. And I'm just like, do you know what it is? He goes, yeah, right in the socket. Like I almost crashed the car. I wound up, oh yeah, this is the guy's number. Call the guy. Oh yeah, okay, you come pick it up, It was really cool. He wasn't hitting me over the head. And I went there and I picked it up and he had another acetate on Prelude, which is my favorite label, which he kind of just threw at me. And I got in the car and I'm just like, this is the most bizarre. Like, who would ever think that I still to this day don't know who the guy was or who told him about me, but he somehow found out about me. And thank God. I mean, and things like that have happened to me, a few times, which is really cool. It keeps it nice. I never did any of this for the money. I never collected baseball cards for the money. I never collected autographs to resell them. And when I saw the market get so out of control, um, it gives you it's a different taste.
One unique thing about your situation is that your work and your career directly influenced your knowledge and the advantage you had collecting these acetates and test pressings. And that's very unique. You know, for instance, my client who collects posters, I mean, he had nothing to do, his music career, he had no connection to music in his work. His work was totally unrelated. And he's built up this fantastic collection of posters, but you were working daily, coming into contact with these musicians and producers who could spread the word that who did know that you were collectors in some respects. I mean, the great Roberta Flack story you told.
Yes.
She knew you were a collector, Jody Wadley knew you were a collector, but also the producers that you're coming into contact with. It's your own label. Everyone, and that close association is very different than what I am used to seeing. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I was very blessed to wind up, working in the music business. I started working in 1992 and I started my own label in 1994. And I went through a lot. Before that, I had every horrible job you could imagine. And I used to look at people in the music business and be like, wow, like how would that happen? How would you get that job? How lucky are these people? You could be at Citibank cashing checks, or you could be in the music business. And I was promoting at a company called SIN, Street Information Network, what's the first job I got. And I was going 100 miles an hour. I was promoting 30, 40 records at a time, hip hop, house, disc, every kind of thing, dealing with a million different personalities, DJs across the country. I was two phones at once and, not eating lunch, 12, 13-hour days. And I loved it. I loved the energy and I loved what I was doing. But in promotion, it's a very thankless job. So you promote something, and what happens when a record's a hit, the artist takes all the credit for it. The record's not a hit, they blame promotion and marketing. The A&R guy takes credit when the record's a hit. When the record's a stiff, the A&R guy blames the promotion department. So there's this, pass the buck situation going. When I got the opportunity to go to Atlantic, what my boss who brought me in said to me, which changed my life, he said, you know, don't you want to be a record guy? And those 3 years of me doing this boot camp, like diligent, lining on my stomach, rip apart, losing hair, the whole thing. It just was like, I'm doing all of this for nothing because what's my legacy? Johnny D's a promo guy. Oh yeah, we got 40 number ones in 2 years. Who cares? Like who's gonna, if you don't know about the Billboard chart, So I was able to make records. Wow, like I have a record that sells, it's on the radio all over the place. And my sister's calling me from Georgia. Oh, I was at the movie theater. I just heard everything but the girl. Oh, I just heard the Bucketheads, that's wild. My kids, I'm at my kids' rehearsal. There's some dance going on at my kids' school and they're using my record. That's wild shit. So I love that. I've been very blessed. So yes, it's been great to go from loving music and then learning it and then implementing and then and I'm still learning. I mean, you're learning every day, but it is great where I was able to make records, be in charge of test pressings, be in charge of the mastering and doing acetates. It was absolutely phenomenal. But I will say this: as much of as much of the kid in the candy store experience as you would think it is, because it really was, I didn't have a chance to really have a lot of that because when you're like, oh wow, I could make five acetates, I can make I can make one test pressing. When you're in the middle of 20 things, you got to put that on the back burner. So there are records I did with no test pressing, no acetate. And I'm like, how can me like say, oh, there's no acetate of professional widow, and like, how's that possible? So it's very strange how when you have that moment. Charlie Rapone was on a show a while ago from Vinylmania, and for years I was every penny I would make was into Vinylmania. Then the tables turned where I was sending him all this stuff. I'd walk into Vinylmania and he would be like, take whatever you want. And I'd walk out of there with nothing, and we go across the street and have dinner. And I say to myself, "What is going on?" Like somebody's telling you, "Hey Terry, come and take every poster you want." You're like, "No, I'm good." Like what? They're all over the place. And I got to that point, which is great. I still collect. I love records and everything. But yeah, it's a very. I was very blessed. I always say, and it's all about the opportunity. Without the opportunity, none of this happens. It's all about opportunity.
I think for me, looking from the outside, it's a combination of two things. One is, you know, before you got into the music business, you were the collector, and that resonated with you. And then that combined with the knowledge you gained from being in the music business, I think personally, I think that those two factors enabled you to have the kind of collection that you do today. And I think it's very rare to have both of those factors, and, you know, that gave you the knowledge asymmetry that, you know, allowed you to focus on these things and to have the collector gene in your blood. And it's incredible what you've put together. I do have one question for you, and that is, when you talk about your legacy and you talk about the hits that you've made, your own record label, the hits when you were at Atlantic, do you see more of your legacy in the music business or in this collection that you've put together?
Well, listen, I always feel that my collection is really, if you want to really know me, you look at my collection. And if I was to go through this wall and pull 100 records out that mean the world to me, I think people would be very shocked because there'd be Ambrosia, You're the Only Woman, and Baby Come Back by Player, and Cool Night by Paul Davis. And then there'd be Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven. And then there'll be, Nobody Beats the Biz by, I'm gonna have this combination of music that most people, I mean, now it's Spotify, everybody thinks that, oh, this told me that because I like this, I like this, I was Spotify way before Spotify. So I'm the guy that likes to turn people on, but when it comes to music, my tastes are like they're so, and I think I have phenomenal taste. I think that the reason I'm on this planet, I've always felt, whether it's through a DJ or through a radio station, is to turn people on to music. I've always felt that. When I used to listen to the radio, whether it was WBLS or Frankie Crocker or Kiss FM or Disco 92, I was always like, I'd make lists and stuff, and it was always about what was being played, what they were talking about. I was so interested in all of that. And then saying, wow, I just heard this record, but I don't hear it a lot anymore. I'm gonna play it for people. Yo, what is that record? Like, I love that. And I love to turn people on. To this day, one of my highlights in life is somebody saying, yeah, I remember you at that club. Yeah, you played that record by Mark Anthony 3 years before he even came out. Like, I love that because that's really what I think I'm here for. Now, my collection, I think, is, I think you have to really be deep to understand it completely. And most people, I have to say, in my world, I mean, whether they just guess, I mean, or not, oh yeah, Johnny D's, whatever. But it's safe to say it's a pretty solid collection. But I love to spread music and turn people on to stuff. I love being turned on to it. I love it. I love when there's a DJ or somebody that I can go and sit and say, wow, like I didn't know those three records. Like I need those records. And I need to add those to my world and then turn people on. I was doing a gig, um, all 45s in Manhattan, the place called the Bowery Electric. And it's, on Bowery and Second Street in the Lower East Side. And I would do these gigs and all these other DJs would come. And I'm very meticulous with mixing and everything has to be, done the right way. And other DJs are sitting there like loving it all. But like the people, it was like I was never drawing the proper people. But then I would go back 2 weeks later on an off night when I'm not working, and these guys are playing records I turned them on to. And that's kind of the bittersweet thing where they're getting the reaction. Like I remember dropping, this is predominantly a disco hip hoppy thing, and I'm dropping Electric Light Orchestra, um, Fire on High. Now, nobody in that place knows what fire. Nobody even knows who Electric Light Orchestra is. And I drop that, and I go back and I hear somebody playing it, and that's kind of you know, it's kind of a mixed thing. But that really is what I'm trying to do. So I can't be too pissed because I want to do that. But it kind of stings when you watch another DJ, having global success, dropping something that he would have never known without you.
Well, look, thank you so much for sharing that Madonna collection. It was absolutely incredible. And this has been one of my favorite episodes because I feel like you really got to have your moment and kind of do a big reveal of a really amazing part of your collection. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.
Yes, thank you. Take it easy.